Loading snacks.
What's good, Loading Snacks Universe? Your boy Jokes is here with the homie Gage, with the homie Sin. And it's time for another episode of Spoiler Boys!
Spoiler Boys!
Yes, and we are here to continue our journey through Ahsoka with episode 5. Gentlemen, are we ready to jump in and discuss episode 5?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. We'll do the usual. Let's go around the room, see what everybody thinks. I'll do something a little bit different. I'll go first. I'm intro, but I'll go first. I'm gonna give this one a 9. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Sin, where do you sit on for this one?
I'm at a 9 too. This might be my favorite episode so far.
Gage,
It's an 8. I'm at 8.
still solid. Hey, listen. Regardless whether it's still 8 or not, still solid. We've been on a good pathway since the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
And I think we are looking at one of the better runs when it comes time for the live action series. We've definitely got things right. Boba Fett appears to be the only odd one out of the bunch as of right now.
Yeah,
but this one is joining.
Kenobi is whack too.
Kenobi, you think? That was
Look, nothing is worse than Boba Fett so far. Yeah.
Listen, I didn't say it was worse than Boba Fett. I just said I'm not giving that joint a pass just because Boba Fett is terrible. Like, that joint's still bad. Kenobi's still bad. Boba Fett is terrible. It doesn't get to be not, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kenobi doesn't get to be not bad because Kenobi, you know, like, that's not that's not how it works.
Minus chasing little Leia, but well, yeah,
short leg Leia,
outrunning everything.
You forgot about Kenobi. You forgot about like Boba Fett is so bad. You can't.
I see what you're saying.
How bad it is. Yeah. Like, and Kenobi, you just completely forgot about. It's like the joint didn't even happen. That in some ways might even be worse, but for all intents and purposes, that joint's bad. It's forgettable, and that's bad for Star Wars.
I can get behind that.
I can get behind that. But let's go ahead and jump in. We won't go fully through the whole episode, but we'll start right where the last episode left off, and we know Anakin made his appearance. Of course, we're in the world beyond, and Anakin and Ahsoka started to have a conversation. So I know we knew Hayden Christensen was going to be in the show, but I know we didn't know to what extent that he was actually going to do, other than being without a Force ghost, obviously. But this seems like this could be a little bit more than just being the typical Force ghost type of thing. And it seems like what we're looking at right now is what he deemed to be the final training lesson that we're about to put forward. So initially hearing for training lesson, I'm thinking, you know what? Anakin's about to do the old, hey, Snips, let's sit down. Let's just have this discussion right quick about what's going on. But clearly he knows, and she kind of understands that where you're at right now, it's like you're this close to really being truly dead right now. So let's see how things play out. Right off the break, Anakin just pulls out a lightsaber. And it's like, okay, we're gonna do a little sparring here. Now, I'll start with saying that he pulls out his blue lightsaber, normal one that we pretty much got at the end of Revenge of the Sith that he had. They started to have a little bit of a duel, which was kind of clean that they were having on a little small pathway that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But we could see that there was a little differences that were occurring during said fight. Now, the first initial time when they started fighting, he seems like he's just normal Anakin. He's just trying to teach a lesson here to kind of get Ahsoka on the same page. Eventually, he cuts the pathway that they're actually walking on as she falls. Now, just the initial first reaction that we get from him, how did you like this first interaction that we get with grown Ahsoka and Anakin at this point? Sen, I'll start with you.
I enjoyed it. I like he's coming at her with the lightsaber and she's opposed to it. right there at that point. Like she's not trying to like really go in and fight him. I just like the dynamic between them, how it starts and how it progresses as they go into the past and as he's trying to teach you this final lesson and everything. I enjoyed the way that it started and it progressed. I'll say I had a good time with it.
Gage?
I mean, it was cool. It was cool to get. I mean, again, I don't know that this is a Force ghost. I don't know. I don't know
exactly what this.
But the important thing is it was the thing that she needed to see in that moment, in that like possible transition to the afterlife or whatever it is. And in terms of them having an interaction, I think that they established early that she, really missed Anakin. That walking away from him when she did during the Clone Wars was difficult. It was hard, but it was what she had to do because of kind of where she was mentally with the Jedi, and him saying to her that she still had, lessons to learn. Again, I just think it was a good kind of a quick way to establish it. Her training was always unorthodox, and so the beginning of this, I think, is super unorthodox. Like, here's some training, let's fight. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like, let's fight. So, yeah, she gives him a little bit of a pushback, and then he's just like, yeah, that's not enough. I said, that's cool.
Dig it. Like you said, he said, this is not enough. So we go on to our next step. So, like I said, he cuts the pathway that they're on. They're walking on a very narrow, so it's like you don't really have too much places to go other than down. So cuts pathway, and she starts to fall. And once we get to the bottom and she awakens, we find her in her younger self in the middle of the Clone Wars. Now, outside of the I should say, Attack of the Clones, we've never really seen other like a live action within the realms of the Clone Wars per se, like in the deep of the Clone Wars. So this was something that was pretty cool to see, and obviously Anakin is there, and he's in full-on Clone Wars outfit. Same thing with Ahsoka. So it was literally yanked right out of the animation, brought into real life with another scenario that we see right here. Pretty cool, and they're in the middle of the war.
Yeah, and the smoky aesthetic they added to that, I thought was kind of cool.
So that kind of made it easy to kind of blur out some things in the background, but you really only are getting the central focus on the two of them. And of course, you see some of the clone troopers with them that are kind of moving along. I really did enjoy some of those small pieces that they threw in while they were fighting. I know it's a little bit further on, but like the Mandalorians, I believe that's what they were called in the series. I don't remember their actual name. It was
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Death Watch. You talking about the Mandalorians that were following Maul that had the spikes on
their horn?
Yeah. I thought that was a cool little tidbit to throw in there. We get to see the two of them kind of working their way through this battlefield that everything is just going down on there for it. I think it's cool with the discussion that they're kind of having, waking up and realizing that she's in the middle of the Clone Wars. Anakin's kind of like, I don't know, this is where he wanted to be at, and kind of seeing that this is more of a, I don't want to say a training, but maybe this is something that needed to be discussed, needed to be seen for it. How do we like where we are as far as actually being set in the real life Clone Wars in the series now?
I thought it was cool to see a small portion of the, that Clone Wars, like you said, brought to life from the animation, from the Clone Wars, the real life. That was cool. Seeing Anakin and, that outfit, her younger live action version. I thought that was cool. I was enjoying those tidbits of discussion they were having, like her training. She didn't think her training was going to be this way with all this fighting and all this war. He's like, it's a different time. You know what I mean? When Obi-Wan brought me up, we were peacekeepers. Now I got trained to be a warrior to survive all this stuff. This is just a training process. You know what I'm saying? I know it's not what you expected it to be, but you know, so this is just what it is now at this time. Them kind of having that conversation and her having to hear it from him. I thought it was cool. I might have been the scenes I probably enjoyed the most, I would say, in this episode. Just those flashback to Clone Wars and her seeing him shift to those darker versions and everything. I enjoyed that a lot, I would say. Gage.
I mean, I agree. I think it was cool. I think it just, for me, this part of it, you know, seeing some tiny bit of the Clone Wars in live action is cool. I think it is more of being there to serve as not a reminder, but to let people who don't really know who Ahsoka is, again, people who didn't watch the animated shows, who didn't see Clone Wars, who haven't seen Rebels, to remind people that like Ahsoka is a war veteran. Like she's seen it, like seen it all, that she's front and center, front lines, like literally leading battalions. When you talk about who Ahsoka is and what Order 66 meant in terms of it affecting the Jedi and what happened to the Jedi, the idea of her walking away from the Jedi Order when and how she did, that this was a child who was in charge of leading battalions. So much so that clone troopers painted their armor to look like her. They put the blue aesthetic and so forth on their helmets to look like her. She was their leader. She led people to their death. You know what I mean? Like she became a Jedi under the idea of being a peacekeeper, and that embattled personality of hers, right, was always very gung-ho and yeah, let's go do it, let's whatever, and then began to really see what the realities of war were and what it was that she was having to do. And so I just think it was a really good, strong reminder to people. Like, to me, this was like, oh, there's something coming in the next episodes. You getting ready to really see what Shorty can do, because you don't know how seriously battle trained and hardened this woman is. Like, she came up through it. And so, yeah, for those of us who are familiar, it's kind of a good touchstone, and it gives us some conversation and things that we didn't actually get. But it's a reminder for us. For other people, it's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, she was really out there with Darth the Vader. You know what I'm saying? Like, really out here getting it in. And so I thought that was cool, and I felt like it was really important, like, to just kind of see her have that moment with, you know, a clone trooper who's hurt and laying there, and she puts her hands on him, and he just puts his hands because he fought for her. He's gonna do whatever it takes because that's what they're here for. And so her having that conversation with Anakin in that moment and being like, this isn't what I wanted to do, this isn't what I signed up for. And he's like, well, but we here. You know, this is what it is. So yeah, I thought it was cool.
Dig it. And like you brought up, talking about the Darth of the Vader. So initially it kind of seemed like we were gonna get more of just the bright side of Anakin being here to kind of teach and guide her. But as we progress further through that Clone Wars scene, we see Anakin walking off into the distance with some of the clone troopers getting ready to take on whatever that next threat is. And all of a sudden you get that quick flash of going from being Anakin Skywalker to being Darth Vader in that walking path. And it's like this is a part of him. So I guess we're going to go both sides of this. So we see, him initially walking away as Vader, but then we see him coming back to come to Ahsoka. It's normal Anakin, but of course he's got the Sith eyes. It looks like we're going to go into another teaching moment here, but a little more aggressive that we look at in this point. Um, and I think that the whole way that they started to tell that was pretty cool. We got him being that mentor, that typical mentor that he was beforehand, but now we're shifting into that Darth Vader, like, listen, you're going to get things done by any means necessary out here. Um, I didn't think man was going to pull out the red lightsaber. Initially, he didn't, but I didn't think he was going to actually go full on with the red lightsaber and come after her. Now, after the scene is done, where we see the two of them initially coming to front with each other with evil Anakin, I guess we'll say it the way it is, right? Sith Anakin,
Anakin.
Darth Anakin. I mean, he's not Vader per se at that point. We come back to the world beyond, the world in between, and Ahsoka's there, but we are getting that Anakin walking back towards her again, and we see that quick flash glimpse of going between him and Vader. But this time we do have Sith Anakin coming out, and this is where the fight becomes a little more aggressive between the two of them. There's a point in that fight where, as they're fighting, and we see Ahsoka becoming a little more aggressive in the way that she's actually fighting him, we actually see her with the same Sith eyes. So I think this is kind of that noticing. I don't want to necessarily say that she's teetering on that light and dark side, but I guess we can see that aggression that she is distributed throughout the entire Clone Wars, being a more aggressive one, her fighting style and everything on there. And the two of them really just having it out between each other. Now, while things are going on within the fight between them, let's shift back to, should I say the real world? I don't know what preference we should actually use in this case, but
we know what you mean in that sense.
But we'll say the real world. Obviously, Ahsoka is missing, Sabine is missing. We have Hera and the rest of them trying to find Ahsoka. They kind of don't have any idea of what clearly is going on, other than the fact that they know that they were there at a point in time, but we don't know what's going on. Hera's son is also there, and we've started to pick up on pieces that it seems like he does already start having some of these signs of being able to wield the Force. Obviously, his father was a Jedi, and it's just one of those things that sometimes it just naturally occurs. It just happens out of nowhere. You don't really see it coming. But this is kind of that spot where we really get to see that he's starting to distribute those type of power sets, if you want to say. He's actually hearing Anakin and Ahsoka fighting in this other world. And of course, right then and there, he's the only person, and he hears them, and it's coming from the ocean. So initially, when Hera is there, he's having a conversation. He's like, "Can't you hear that?" And she's just looking at him kind of like, "Not really. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about." But then he just drops by, "You don't hear the lightsabers?" And he just tells her, "Listen." Just simple, while Hera's standing there. So of course, she closes her eyes, starts to get in tune a little bit more, and she starts to pick on it a little bit as well. Probably not as much as what he can do, but she starts picking up on it a little bit as well. And then in return, at that point, they knew the search had to continue. Unfortunately, they were about to have the whole rebel squadron come down there, because we know she's going against what her orders were, and coming there to try to help Ahsoka get off this Thrawn threat. Like, look, we gotta nip this in the bud right now. But they're pretty much coming there to put a stop to this, take her in and bring her in for custody for it. But she tells him, like, listen, we need to go out here one more time and do this run and try to find Ahsoka. So now we'll switch back into the world into the world in between. Anakin and Ahsoka, of course, are going at it. It just seems like Anakin is trying to give her the lesson about that balance. I think that's where we're going at, in being, we have the light Anakin versus we have the dark Anakin on here, but he's trying to give her that balance of being in between where she needs to be at. I don't want to say that she's necessarily fighting the dark side, but clearly she does have, I guess, some of those tendencies, maybe will be the word to use for it. What did you guys kind of think of this lesson that was being taught per se here for it?
I think it was cool. I think she needed this lesson from her. I think that's why she's trying to be so calm all these years, like how she's more like reserved and calm when she talks to people, when she kind of acts and stuff like that, because she hasn't been embracing, if you will, the other side, because maybe something she's scared of because she's seen what happened to Anakin, or maybe in the way he's teaching her, like, balance is what you need, like, don't run from it, just kind of just, it's a part of you, like, you don't have to go full on with it, just accept that side of you or whatever. If you're going to walk this path, kind of deal that I see you going down because you're so emotional and everything. I've dealt with the emotion thing. Look where that's put me at, type of deal. I think that's kind of what he was teaching her. I could be completely wrong, but I think she ended up getting that by the end of their lesson. Because she seemed to be a lot more, I don't know, at peace or whatever when she came out of it, I would say. I don't know. What about you, Gage?
I mean, I think what we're looking at is Ahsoka mentally finally accepting the fact that she is a Jedi and that she has a place within the Jedi and within the Order, but her place as a Jedi, like, she turned down, having Grogu as a Padawan. She took Sabine on at one point, walked away from her. She had been a Padawan. She was a Padawan when she walked away. So what happened in this episode is Ahsoka went from being a Jedi and a Padawan who no longer had a master and somebody who gave that up to actually becoming a Jedi master. She had to go through the trials. She never went through the Jedi trials, the actual master trials, right? So, like, when Luke did it, his trial was unorthodox. He had to face his biggest thing, which was dealing with his father, right? Succumbing to that evil that was there and making a decision about, his father, putting it in, are you going to join the dark side or not, or whatever. The same thing happened to Anakin, right? Like, Anakin had to make that decision, and he had to face the trials in an unorthodox manner, right? So, like, if you go back and you watch the Clone Wars, like the cartoons, when Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon suggested they make him, and then Obi-Wan's like, yeah, well, his whole training has been unorthodox, so his trials are going to be different, than what everybody else's were, in order for him to become a master. That's what she basically had to go through. This was her trial. Like, the thing where they all, like, when Rey ended up in the cave and when, you know what I mean? This was like her vision or whatever it is she had to have to go through that thing and to have that confrontation of her light side versus her dark side and recognizing it. Because that thing with her eyes you're talking about, Jokes, that actually happened in the last episode too, when she got angry when she thought that Sabine was dead. Her eyes flipped over for a second. You know what I'm saying? And so she has that again, but I also think she remembers seeing that in when she was fighting Vader and didn't know that Vader was Anakin. And Vader told her he killed Anakin. You know what I'm saying? He destroyed Anakin. She's fighting him, slashes the mask, and then sees Anakin's face in there and realizes that it's the same person. That, you know what I mean? Like, she's been in battle with that. And for her, I think she's been walking with the guilt that basically, like, her walking away from Anakin when she walked away from the Order the last time they spoke to each other. Like, the next day, Slim became Vader. Like, he just started murdering younglings, you know what I'm saying, or whatever.
She can tune that to being her fault in a way.
I think she always felt guilty that, like, if she had been around, she could have helped keep that from happening. And I think that this kind of confirms that for her, that it is important for her to walk that path and that she was necessary and that she possibly could have prevented that. But she kind of comes out of this literally as Ahsoka the Jedi Master. It's like she's a completely different person. You know what I mean? And like now she actually is in a place where she could rightfully take on a Padawan and train him the way she needs to. She's been where she actually needs to be in order to do it. And so now it's like, okay, let's are we taking on Jason as the new Padawan? What's popping? You know what I'm saying?
I thought about that.
Are we like what's you know what I mean? What's going on? Because
even the outfit change at the end is more white, light grays and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's a whole different joint. And like her basically finding, like it's almost like over the years, she's attuned with the Force, she knows what it is, but she hasn't allowed herself to succumb to the Force, right? To just let the Force guide her. And so like the difference between what Jedi generally do and what Sith generally do is that like the Sith use the Force like they fight with the Force, and the Jedi allow the Force to guide them. It's kind of like what the difference is. And that's very much what I think the difference, like she's kind of been trying to do that, but didn't really have that final step to truly successfully be able to do it. And even in this, she's like, man, I don't know. I'm just doing what the Force tells me to do. Like she's just kind of like, I'm just going with the flow. And again, like she's been fighting that. We saw that with her trying to kind of force Sabine and force her training and whatever, and finally succumbing to that and being like, okay, your training has to be different. I can't try to force it on you the way, blah, blah, blah. So this is like literally she just went through her final Jedi trial and came out the other end, like woke up in the water like, okay. It's a new day, the sun beaming on her face when she wake up in the ship, like.
Even though what you're saying, like without spoiling anything, I know we'll get there, but like at the end, when right before it goes off, and robot dude always forget his name. It's like, do you know where we're going? She's like, she puts her hands on her head, like,
no,
we'll figure it out when we get there. Like so different now, so different.
So
just accepting
different,
it,
bro. Yeah. Which again, let's make Jedi cool. You know what I'm saying? Like
they're going in the right direction with it. If it's going in the right direction.
Just finish off Ahsoka, right? Yeah, we'll be moving in that correct destination.
Yeah, like in a way, she hasn't really been a Jedi because again, she walked away from the Order. So she's really been as a Force user. You know what I'm saying? Who had Jedi training, but she walked away from the Order. So she wasn't a Jedi, and she never really became a Jedi Knight. But she's been a commander. She's been a fighter. She had training from like the greatest Jedi who were trained by like the greatest Jedi.
She's a part of that lineage, yeah.
Normal
definitely
younglings would never be like, I wouldn't even necessarily say she was a youngling at that point, but normally someone of that age would never go through like even a quarter of what she went through in her.
Exactly.
Like Anakin said, it's different. This is wartime now. This isn't, how it was for myself and people before me who came up. We're in war. Yeah. We got to adjust and do things differently now. So this is part of your training.
And she had it, and she didn't get to complete it because she walked away from it. You know what I mean? So here she is completing that training. And so now that that's done, it's like she's official. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what in her head, whether or not she would consider herself to be like, oh, now I'm a Jedi. Like, I'm a Jedi now. But for real, it's like, nah, Slim just became a Jedi master right in front of our eyes. Yeah. Like, right now. We just really watch that happen. And that only happens in like the movies, like the movies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they slap a name on your joint, call it the Skywalker saga. You know what I'm saying? Like people change it. Like for you to become that is like, that doesn't happen in a TV show.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Let's see where it goes. You know what I mean? Like like this was a pretty dope moment, and I think kind of seeing that awakening and really like talking about Hera's son, talking about Jason, and like basically Hu Yang just being like my man walking up just being like, yo, they coming, dog. Like what we doing? Like what we doing? And they like, nah, we gotta go back. And then he just like, what just happened? And he was like, his father was a Jedi. Like sometimes he be happy.
And listen, that's all you gotta say.
My man was like,
okay.
Yeah, I love the interaction between her and her son. Just like I really like their interaction, like her knowing, like, yeah, you know, dad's a Jedi, so he probably got that in him. You know what I mean? And her like trusting into it, especially Joe's like you said, we was like, no, like just listen, mom. Like, all right, let me take a second, listen. But okay, she hears it too. My boy's right. Everybody, we back out there. Let's go. Yep. You sit there, you keep listening. Like, let's go. Like, I love that interaction between them.
Yep, yeah, it's important.
Stay with Chopper.
It got to the point where he gave us specific coordinates. He was like, listen, you need to go out there at this specific set of coordinates and stay in that direction.
Yep. Chopper said, hey, y'all heard my boy. Do it. They on to it.
Yeah.
Hey, don't let him go nowhere. But like we said, we'll take, like, of course, she awakes. She's in like the gray outfit or whatever. But of course, you know, she's having the conversation, all of them, trying to figure out what their next move is. Because obviously it's like we have no way to know where any of them have gone to. But of course, Ahsoka has that ability where she's able to touch an object, feel an object.
Scan button on Starfield.
Well, Cal Kestis also has that within the games. Being able to touch an object and get that story,
echoes.
Get the echoes. Thank you.
Yeah.
To kind of understand certain events and things that happen. So of course, Ahsoka finds half of the map, which obviously Sabine has had in her hand. So she's left her trace on that part of it. She holds it in her hand. She reads. You know, you can hear certain pieces of that actual story unfolding, and so she can gather the pieces of the puzzle and put together. It still doesn't give her necessarily the full on exactly where they're heading, but she knows Sabine gave up the map. She went alongside with the rest of them, Shin and Baylan, and they took off to go wherever they believe Thrawn actually is. So we got to come up with some type of idea. And at that point, you know, Ahsoka, she gets a grand scheme. She gets that grand thought. She's like, I know what we need to do. And initially, you know, we don't really, we kind of knew where this was going to. Like, it's been alluded through the last few episodes. It's been hinted through. Like, there's this whole callback. But they go back to the ship. Ship, of course, they take off. But in the meantime, we know Rebel Squad, they're coming to apprehend and take her back. So she's like, listen, y'all got to go play defense while we go get this stuff set up. She sends, of course, the last, I forget dude's name. that's like now he's the staple of the X-Wing pilot. And it's like, listen, I just
got run interference.
just go run defense. And you know, I give him props.
He's stressed out.
Listen, he was trying
100%. 100%, dog.
He was trying to be as vague as possible, but at the same time, listen, Harris General, and I have my orders, and right now she's on a mission doing something. And
the way he was trying to fake it at first, dog, was too funny. I was like, listen, run it back, Kate.
I loved it. He was doing it, and then it just got to the point where it's like, all right, let me just go ahead and tell you what the deal is right now. And obviously, I don't want to see, like, if you're a non-believer in the Force or whatever, but when someone tells you certain things like what a Jedi is doing, a lot of people typically will just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, giant whales that can go into hybrid, man.
Space whales, bro.
Oh, you got to remember that, like, I mean, again, like, Jedi don't really exist. You know what I mean? Like, they've been wiped out. So, like, when somebody's like, they doing what, Slim? Yeah, come on, dog. Yeah, of course, because they don't see people use the Force.
Valid. Not until Baylan and Shin showed up on that ship
and murked everybody.
and they only got to see some Force again. Who knows how long?
And what very little they probably seen of Ahsoka in her passing, you know, doing stuff.
Valid. But of course, Ahsoka gets the grand idea to go to the Purgils, the giant whales that we know that can go into hyperspace, and to Force communicate with not just one of the whales, but apparently the biggest of all of them. Obviously, depending on how far this one may be, more wisdom, whatever it may be. So they come into contact with it. They're in the, obviously they have to fly to get to the giant whale. So once again, Ahsoka leaves the ship on top of the ship, and a big old giant whale just comes up right in front of him, like almost like it was expecting Ahsoka and gang to just show up there.
Like took you long enough.
But Ahsoka, with the Jedi, I can't say Jedi mind trick, but just that communication piece that Jedi are able to have with nature, animals, living things, kind of has that conversation mentally with the whale. And pretty much she got the green light because the whale opened up its mouth essentially just to go ahead and
them teeth. Nah.
Bro. They baleen. That's what they look like. That's come jump in these straws.
And like Hu Yang on the inside, like we're going in there, like
pull up curbside.
Go ahead and pull in. Well, maybe you should come back inside the ship now at this point, since we're going to be doing this. So obviously they go ahead, they land. Hera's in the Ghost, but they don't follow alongside. I'm sure she's about to get reamed out probably by the rest of the leaders and everything. But then eventually
she has people that can, like, when they get back, say, look, I don't know what was going on beforehand, but there was some space whales, and people that can corroborate that when she gets back, at least to help fuel the fire that she's obviously going to be walking into when she gets back.
It's going to be a serious fire. But of course, it looks like things are good. The bunch of whales, of course, all together leaving the planet, and they pass by all of the rebel ships, and of course, they're like, we kind of need to move out of the way because it don't look like they're really going to stop in our path. But clearly,
she told him, Hera told him, like, hey, I would get out of the way if I was you.
They were moving fast enough for me. Like, come on now.
They really weren't.
Yeah, like you saw the evasive maneuvers, and y'all are moving so slow, and those whales are here. But it worked out.
It worked out, and like you said, Hu Yang and Ash, like where is it that we're going to? And Ahsoka's just like, there's only one way to find out. So, obviously, I don't know exactly what communication Ahsoka had with the whales, but clearly somehow maybe she relayed some of the info from when she did touching the half of the map. So I don't know if there's maybe they have an idea. They could have already potentially been to this area obviously because Thrawn and them essentially use the whales to actually get wherever they currently are right now. So they may have some idea as to where they went to try to find Thrawn. And at this point now, we're just waiting for the next episode to see where we land or come out at. Because right now, this is literally just a shot in the dark, literally, because in the whale's mouth, like it's pitch black in there. Like you don't expect any light to come out. But to see where we end up at. I imagine next episode, we're either going to start with the whales coming out of hyperspace and end up the planet, or we're going to end up starting the episode with Hera getting reamed out by the council. I haven't quite figured out which one of those is going to come first. I feel like it may be the Hera side, because like you said, Gage, I feel like she's going to break away, whether it is she's able to maintain being a general, or in order to back Ahsoka up, she's going to have to forfeit that title. But she does at least have a little bit more of information to provide at this point. It ain't much to go off of, but clearly she has a little bit more information to try to do things with. I still don't trust half of them on the council anyway, with what's going on currently right now. So I expect probably some things to happen within the leader of the politicians and all that to probably start to show up within this next episode, probably, especially with her trying to get the back of Ahsoka. Where do you guys think we're going to start in this next episode?
I actually think we're going to start with Sabine. Having already be there and her taking in where they're at and start to ask questions about Ezra. I think we'll start with there, and probably after that we'll see Ahsoka and the whales like come up on a destination, like teleport in or whatever, and then the episode will really get started at that point. And then those other things you just mentioned will start to trickle and come along within the episode. But I think that's how it opens.
I agree. I think we start on Sabine because she's not in this episode at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we start with them and what's going on with them, and we probably are going to get kind of caught back up on what they've been doing while they were searching for Ahsoka. She was out for, he said, a complete cycle. I don't know what that means. I guess that's a day.
I guess, yeah, I guess a day too, yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's been a couple of days. You know what I'm saying? So my thought process is we're gonna be catching up on what has been going on with Sabine and them as they travel to wherever they went, and that we'll be kind of catching up on that before we see kind of Ahsoka make an entrance. I'ma just is all right. Look, man, is Ezra alive or not?
Oh yeah.
I think they're going to find him in, maybe alive is not necessarily the words used, but I feel like something that he either had to do is going to have him like this in between life and reality or something like that.
Him and Thrawn together.
Yeah, but maybe they'll have, they'll be.
What do you mean? Hold on. What do you mean?
I don't know. I think they find him, but what if him and Thrawn are trying to work together to figure out how to get back to everybody else? What if that's something they just had, like something he had to deal with, like I don't hate this dude no more, or whatever, something along those lines, where we've been working together to try to make it back to everybody else at some point.
Woo! I don't like that. That's a bit, boy, that's a whole. I can't go with that one. I love it though. I love that you're throwing that kind of energy out right there, because if they show up and they have to slice my man Ezra head off with a lightsaber, I'm there for it. The world will be pissed.
But yeah, I don't think it's so like it's just we haven't agreed, like we've come to an understanding. We need to work with each other to escape where we're at since we're trapped here. You know what I mean? Kind of deal. Like, so like, no, y'all can't kill him just yet. We can't put him down. And maybe like a vice versa type of thing. And it's just confusion with everybody. Just
I mean, the way they've been describing like them traveling, they're talking about them basically almost like time travel. Almost like
something weird like that, yeah.
It's kind of a thing of like, where are they and how long have they been gone? And for like all we know, no time has passed.
Don't know.
You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, we know Thrawn is coming back. Like, we've seen Slim in trailers, right. And like, Star Wars don't do us dirty the way Marvel does us dirty and just be throwing
with the fake trailers
and then just yank all that out.
So like,
time for once.
I have to lean more towards whatever it is they got to do. Look, we don't necessarily know that Thrawn actually comes back. We know that Thrawn is on the same ship, so we know they find him, and he's on the ship that they used to go there. But we don't know anything about him actually making it back or helping in some way with the First Order or what it becomes. What I can say is that there's a high possibility that, like, if they decide that for some reason whatever Hera has done is treasonous or whatever, and there's some sort of an exposure, like, they've shown us enough to know that there's still people who are working for the Empire, and that the seeds of the First Order re-springing up are already sown. So I don't necessarily feel like he needs to come back for it to succeed, because we don't have enough episodes for that, bro. Like, for them to get where we are, like when Rey is when the sequel trilogy starts, Thrawn is he doesn't exist, and like nobody talks about him. So like the fact that they find him is making me feel like there's no, like, we're not getting him. Like, he's not, y'all gonna see him, but he's not gonna win. Like, they're not gonna end this episode with him making it back and, oh shoot, here's the first, or like, even if they're ready to go into a season 2, right, of Ahsoka, like, that can't be where we're going. Like, I cannot wrap my head around that idea of them just being like, well, we're gonna do a whole other season of Ahsoka fighting and dealing with Thrawn or whatever, and then she'll thwart him next season, but the First Order still makes it. I do think that between Organa, Leia, who's still out there in the streets, and Hera, that somewhere in there, that shift, like what you was talking about, Joe's like not trusting these other people in the Senate. Like, the Senate ain't been trustworthy since the very first one.
Yeah,
they've never been, like, they like our own Senate. So like, it's nobody. You can't
based
trust
off
these
true story.
right.
Yeah, I don't. So yeah, bro. Clearly they're dirty. I'm not even worried about it. It's just a matter of what happens with Hera. And where is Zeb, dog?
By now, I feel like there should have been.
Is
I
Zeb?
don't know.
Hey,
Maybe something does happen to her and they kick her out, want to arrest her or something. She needs to leave and she reaches out to him.
hey, listen,
You know what I'm saying, for assistance.
they're gonna arrest her, and this dude Chopper's still gonna be free, and this dude Chopper gonna go get Zeb. Like, Hera's in jail. We need to get her ass out of jail. And like Zeb just comes along.
Hey, real talk though, Papa be using whole words, bro.
They do, bro.
Holy
They be like,
shit.
Papa, what's going on? My man just be like, I don't know, dog. It wasn't me.
Right.
Like,
He just got a terrible speaker. That's all. Yeah.
yeah, like,
He got a
somebody
Kenny,
get
the
this
Kenny
speaker,
jump.
bro.
Yeah. He got Fisher Price speaker. That's it.
Where's C-3PO when you need him to jump in and like take care of that, dog? Like, can we get this dude a new mic and a speaker box, bro? Why you got the Bumblebee voice box? Like, what's going on, dog? I don't care. Yeah, I don't know, dog. I think you're right, Sin. I think we open on Sabine and what's going on with them, so we kind of catch up on what happened during that time. I think Jason is going to be more important than we realize. I think that somehow in the next 3 episodes, it's going to be like, all right, well, Ahsoka's a master. She got to open it. Because,
Started Jedi school somehow.
well, bro, like, let's think about this for a second. Think about where we are in the timeline.
Isn't Luke starting a school?
Right.
Right,
yeah,
And,
at this point.
right. And Ben Solo has to go to a school and get trained.
Yep.
Could Ahsoka be involved in that somehow? Like going to the school and whatever? Does Jason end up there? Like what? Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot, bro.
It's
It's a good episode though.
We can sew some threads in here.
Yeah.
Dig it. So are we all good with our scores, keeping them the same? Any adjustments? I'm good with my 9.
I'm good with mine too.
Still good with your
I'm
8?
still at 8. I'm still at an 8. Like, again, that joint could change, but I'm at an 8. I gotta see what happens in the next episode, bro. I'm always on that, like, they could ruin it so easily.
Yeah.
So like,
what they do
right
next.
now, bro, every time I go into a new episode, I'm like, they are doing this. Like, this is working. Like, they are getting this. So I remain cautiously optimistic.
Valid.
This. Stay on the path, bro.
Stay the
Jedi
course.
would stay on the path.
Star Wars got some. They shows got some head fakes, and right now, bruh, it's for me right now. It's like the ball is in the air. It has not dropped through the net yet. Like we at the 3, you know what I'm saying, 3-point line.
The trajectory is still looking good.
We cross Slim up. Somebody fell. Ball's in the air.
We're just waiting for it to make it to the basket.
It looks like it's on point still. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like all
Timer's
of that.
counting down.
Listen, all that crossover and somebody failed means nothing if the shot don't go down. And that's where I'm at right now. Like, I'm amped off the crossover. You know what I'm saying? Oh, look. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The no look pass. I'm with it. You got to finish the play. I need this joint to score. Right now we haven't scored, so I'm at an 8. Because I'm only scoring the crossover. We didn't get the buckets yet.
Okay.
Waiting for the buckets. If these buckets drop, bro,
It's a wrap.
We ain't got much to do. 3 more episodes.
Yep.
Like,
hey, dog, if these buckets drop, they better not let nobody else ever do no Star Wars shows.
this is it.
Except for this man, bro.
This is it.
Stop playing with me, bro. Stop bringing these other people in to mess around with what they think. No, bro. Finish the show, sink the shot, announce Rebels season 6. Just don't even say 5. Say Rebels season 6.
Yep.
It's coming, dog. Just say it.
They're gonna rename
Do
the
not
season.
say
They're gonna
5.
rename the show. It'll be called Star Wars Rebels Ahsoka, and that's this.
No, Rebel season 6.
No, I'm saying like that's what I'm saying. Like, this is basically season 5. So like,
Yeah.
just finish the show and be like, the next Star Wars show has been greenlit. It is Rebels season 6. Watch the internet burn down. That's it. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting. It's in slow motion right now, waiting for the ball to drop. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm not looking for that, like bouncing around the rim, and like maybe it's going to know.
It's gonna be a clean, all net jump.
Sink that joint. And for real, if they do, I will consider that joint an and one. There was a foul on the play too. Like, they tried to trip y'all up, and if they pull this off, dog, it's a 3-pointer and 1, 4 points. Let's go. Announce season 6. Call it a day. Feel me?
Dig it.
All right.
All right. Well, that has been your Spoiler Boys for episode 5 of Ahsoka. We are all this. Listen, we're on the path, as he says. We're on the right path right now, and it's just a matter of us getting to the finish line and hope that we cross the finish line cleanly, cleanly on there for it. But as of right now, things are looking in the right direction. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back, same time, same place, for our precious of episode 6 of Ahsoka. Hopefully we continue this strength, even if we all end up with other 8s at the end of this. We're going in the right direction. Let's just continue it. Gentlemen, it's been an awesome Spoiler Boys for you. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. For the homie Gage, for the homie Sin, it's been Jokes. We will catch you on the next episode of Spoiler Boys.
Loading snacks.